Hotep World, this your brother Matthew Daniels, aka Ampu, aka The Chosen Few, aka The Real Bookworm. I'm not a bookworm, I'm the real bookworm. Make sure you get it right. And I know y'all saw the title of this one. It's part 1 of The Real Bookworm's online book club, and we're going to be dealing with The Lives of the Caesars by Suetonius. And the first Caesar whose life we are going to be dealing with is none other than Julius Caesar, who is arguably the most famous and well-known Roman in the entire world. So let's just talk about the author of this book for a second. Suetonius. Who is he? Suetonius' real name is Gaius Suetonius Tranquillus. Now, he was born around 70 CE or AD. AD and CE means the same thing. So Suetonius was born around 70 CE, and he probably died sometime before 130 or 140 CE. He may have been born near modern Modena, Italy, while his father was serving as an officer under Vespasian. He spent at least some of his early years in Rome in the emperor's palace and practiced law very briefly, but found that he was more suited to a life of letters. And by a life of letters, they mean he was more suited to being a historian, a writer, a scribe. So let's dig into the life of Julius Caesar as documented by the great historian, writer, and scribe, man of letters, Suetonius himself. He begins. In the course of his 16th year, he lost his father. In the next consulate, having previously been nominated priest of Jupiter, he broke his engagement with Casucia, a lady of only equestrian rank but very wealthy, who had been betrothed to him before he assumed the gown of manhood, and married Cornelia, the daughter of Cinna, who was 4 times consul. So what Suetonius is telling us about Julius Caesar right out the gate is that Julius Caesar lost his father at a young age when he was still just a young man. He was only 16 years old when his father died. Now Julius Caesar was born around the year 100 BCE. So he lost his father at around 85 or 84 BCE. But he's also telling us something else very interesting about Julius Caesar that not many of us know. When he was just a young man, when he was just a teenager, he was nominated to be a priest of Jupiter. Now Jupiter is one of the many gods of the Roman Empire. Now every single god in the ancient Roman world had priests, and some of them had priestesses. Some of them, like Venus, the goddess Venus, had priestesses or the Vestal Virgins who officiated things in association with that particular goddess. So Jupiter, being one of the gods of Rome, had a priesthood. So Caesar, Julius Caesar, Suetonius is telling us right out the gate that when he was just a teenager, about 16, 17 years old, he was nominated to be a priest of Jupiter. Many people don't know that about Caesar. We know Caesar to be a warrior. We know Caesar to be a general. We know Caesar to be a conqueror. But we don't know Caesar to be a priest, right? We don't know him to be a priest, and a priest of Jupiter, no less. And they tell us that Julius Caesar was betrothed to a lady named Casucia. Now, a lot of times in the ancient world, especially when you came from a family of high rank, when you came from a family of power, when you came from a family of prestige, the children were betrothed to other individuals who came from families of high rank, who came from families of wealth, who came from families of prestige. So what they would do is, when they would have children, those families, to make their family names stronger, they would betroth their children to one another to join their two houses, to join their two family names. So we find out that Julius Caesar, as a young man, was not only nominated to be a priest of Jupiter, he was also betrothed to a lady named Casucia, right? And this was no doubt to unify the two family names. But what Julius Caesar did after his father had passed away, he he basically called off that wedding. He didn't want to marry her, and he married a lady named Cornelia, who was the daughter of a man named Cinna, who was consul 4 times. Now, what you got to understand about consul, now consul is like a political rank within the Roman Empire. It's equivalent to the president of the United States or the prime minister of the United Kingdom. The highest ranking judicial power is exercised by the consul, right? He is like the Roman magistrate. He is the chairman of the Senate. He is the commander of the Roman army. Okay, so the consul, you're not consul for life, you're only consul for a certain amount of time, but whoever holds the seat of consul in the ancient Roman Empire is like the president in the United States today. So Julius Caesar always was an individual who sought power. He always had visions of grandeur, and you're going to see this as the story progresses. So I'm pretty sure, although Suetonius doesn't come out and say it explicitly, what he's really telling us is Julius Caesar denounced his prior betrothed wife, right? And he desired to marry Cornelia because her father was consul 4 times. It was like marrying someone of higher rank. And you can really glean this from how Suetonius worded it. He said Julius Caesar, broke his engagement with Consucia, a lady of only equestrian rank, but very wealthy. She had money, but she only had equestrian rank, right? Who had been betrothed to him before he assumed the gown of manhood. So this is who was betrothed to him before he became a man, when he was still a teenager. And after he broke off that engagement, he married Cornelia, daughter of that Cinna, who was 4 times consul, right? So he was trying to marry up. That's what you got to understand from that. Now, a few sentences down, this is what he goes on to tell us about Julius Caesar's life. Therefore, besides being punished by the loss of his priesthood, his wife's dowry, and his family inheritances, Caesar was held to be one of the opposite party. He was accordingly forced to go into hiding, and though suffering from a severe attack of quartan ague, to change from one covert to another almost every night, and save himself from Sulla's detectives by bribes. So what we find out is he called off his engagement to his betrothed wife, but that did not come without consequences. He lost his priesthood, right? Remember I told you that he was a priest of Jupiter. He lost his priesthood. He lost his wife's dowry. The dowry is money that is exchanged for individuals that are supposed to get married. He lost the dowry that he had received for his previously betrothed wife. He lost his priesthood to being, he was no longer a priest of Jupiter. And he lost his family inheritances. And what happened was Caesar went on the run. Caesar went on the run because of a man named Sulla, right? Because of a man named Sulla. Now, Sulla was a powerful individual in the ancient Roman Empire, right? He was a Roman general. He was a statesman. He was consul twice. Remember, I told you consul was the highest political seat you could hold in the ancient Roman Empire. He was consul twice, right? And this Sulla, he rose to prominence in a war against the Numidian king Jugurtha. Now, Numidia was a kingdom in northern Africa. It was off to the west of Egypt, and Mauritania, where the Moors were at, was to the west of Numidia. Now, at a certain point in Roman history, right, the Romans went to war with Numidia and the Numidian king Jugurtha. Now, Sulla made his claim to fame in those wars against Jugurtha in the Numidian kingdom in northern Africa, right? And so he was consul twice, and so he was very rich, he was very powerful, and he did not approve of what Julius Caesar did. And him and Julius Caesar, they had bad blood, and he sought to punish Julius Caesar for breaking off the engagement with his betrothed wife. So Julius Caesar actually had to go into hiding as a young man. Again, I know we all like to think about Julius Caesar as this mighty conqueror, this war-bound individual who went to fight in Africa, who went to fight in Britain, who fought the Gauls, who did this, who did that, who crossed the Rhine with his armies and marched his armies into the Roman Empire and took the throne, took the seat, took the ultimate power in the Roman Empire. But as a young man, even though he had ideas of grandeur about himself, Caesar had to go on the run. You ever heard about that? He had to go on the run from a man named Sulla. And the only thing that saved him from the wrath of Sulla was the Vestal Virgins. Suetonius writes, "But at last, through the good offices of the Vestal Virgins and of his near kinsmen, Aemilius Mamercus and Aurelius Carta, he obtained forgiveness." Now, you got to understand who the Vestal Virgins are. Now, the Vestal Virgins is a state-supported priesthood created by Numa. Numa was one of the great lawgivers and kings from the ancient Roman Empire. They say that Numa ruled from around 717 BCE to around 673 BCE, right? And so Numa, when he was king, he instituted the priesthood of the Vestal Virgins. Now, in the ancient Roman Empire, there was a strict difference between what women can do and what men can do. Now, these Vestal Virgins, as opposed to being forced to go into marriage, they were allowed to keep themselves pure for the goddess that they served, and they were able to perform certain rites and rituals and sacrifices that nobody else could perform. And since they had been an institution for so long, since the beginning of the Roman Empire, and since they were state-sponsored, and since they were created by a man, Numa, who the Roman people held very high, these women had a lot of political pull. They had a lot of political pull, and they had a lot of resources, because you got to understand, when you're a priest or you're a priestess and you run a temple and people bring offerings to the temple, those offerings go to the priest, because ultimately there is no God to collect these things that are brought. It's only the people who are representing the God. So eventually, the Vestal Virgins, along with a couple of other people, but best believe the Vestal Virgins was probably the most powerful voice in this, made sure that Caesar got forgiveness and he was allowed back into normal society. But when he did this, Sulla said something that was basically prophetic. He said, "Have your way and take him being Caesar. Have your way and take him. Only bear in mind that the man you are so eager to save will one day deal the death blow to the cause of the aristocracy which you have joined with me in upholding. For in this Caesar there is more than one Marius." Now, Marius was another individual who sought to take Rome by force. Caesar was not the first individual to try to take power in Rome by force. He wasn't the first Roman to attempt this. Now, we're going to go into detail later about exactly what he was the first Roman to actually accomplish, but the Roman people were always aware of a dictator, or somebody trying to make themselves king, to nullify the council, nullify the senate, and make himself an emperor. They was always aware of ambitious men that would try to do this. And there were several ambitious men before Julius Caesar, and there were several ambitious men after Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar just happened to do it how it had never been done before, and boom, he was able to put his stamp on history. And so what Sulla was saying was, I see in this young man what y'all don't see. I see in this young man what y'all don't see. He too ambitious. He too egotistical, right? We have to watch him. I see in him more than one Marius. I see in him more than one of this same guy who tried to kill the democracy, kill the republic. We need to watch him. And if they would have listened to Sulla, the history would not appear how it appears right now today. So what we're going to do, we're going to fast forward. Julius Caesar, he served in various positions within the Roman government, but he always had his eyes on the prize. He always had his eyes on the prize, and everywhere he went, he tried to gain more power and authority because he was ambitious. A cool story to know about Julius Caesar: before he became Julius Caesar, the man that was feared around the world, he was taken captive by pirates, right? Suetonius tells us that he was taken captive by pirates. And so Julius Caesar was taken captive by some pirates, and he was held for about 40 days. And as the story goes, during those 40 days, he jokingly kept telling the pirates kept telling the captives that, hey, yeah, somebody's gonna pay the ransom to get me free, but once they pay the ransom to get me free, you're gonna be seeing me again. And the pirates was probably like, slapped them up, shut up, they ain't worried about you, let's get that money. See, what a pirate used to do is they would try to capture people and kidnap people who looked it like they had money within the Roman government. Basically just anybody, but since we're dealing with Rome, we're talking about people, Roman citizens. They would try to snatch them up, hold them for ransom, get the ransom, release them, and go on about their business. It was like a hustle. But what Julius Caesar was telling them, like I said, at this point, he was already involved militarily. He was already gaining some clout, and again, he already got these ideas of grandeur. Julius Caesar was like, you really got the wrong one, homeboy, because as soon as I get off this boat, I'm going to handle that business. And guess what? That's what he did. Suetonius documents the account like this. While crossing to Rhodes, after the winter season had already begun, he, Julius Caesar, was taken by pirates near the island of Formosa, and remained in their custody for nearly 40 days in a state of intense vexation, attended only by a single physician and 2 body servants, for he had sent off his traveling companions and the rest of his attendants at the outset to raise money for his ransom. Once he was set on shore on payment of 50 talents, he did not delay then and there to launch a fleet and pursue the departing pirates. In the moment they were in his power to inflict on them the punishment which he had often threatened when joking with them. So what they're saying is, soon as he got loose, he got a fleet, jumped back on the boat with his men, he chased the pirates down, and he made them pay for everything that they put him through. Caesar wasn't nothing to be played with. It's funny that his ransom was 50 talents, right? It seemed kind of cheap, but maybe 50 talents was a lot. Back in the ancient days. But anyway, so in this part that I've already read, Suetonius then, he goes to tell us that Caesar's wife, Cornelia, she dies. Now she passes away around 69 BCE. See, now his wife and his aunt, they died basically around the same time. And Suetonius gives us another foreboding glance at the ideas of grandeur about himself that Julius Caesar had that fueled him in seizing the Roman Empire for himself. In the eulogy for his aunt, he shows these visions of grandeur. And I want you to pay attention to this. Suetonius documents his eulogy this way. And in the eulogy of his aunt, he spoke in the following terms of his paternal and maternal ancestry, and that of his own father. Now this is a quote that Suetonius says gives us from Julius Caesar. The family of my aunt Julia is descended by my mother from the kings, and on her father's side is akin to the immortal gods. For the Marci Rages, her mother's family name, go back to Ancus Marcius and the Julii, the family of which ours is a branch, to Venus. Our stock therefore has at once the sanctity of kings, whose power is supreme among mortal men, and the claim to reverence which attaches to the gods, who hold sway over kings themselves. So what Julius Caesar is saying is, on both sides of his family, right, he has a direct lineage to the ancient kings of the Roman Empire. And he has a direct lineage to the actual gods, the gods that individuals serve. Because you got to understand, people understand the Roman Empire before Caesar as being a republic. They had the Senate, they had votes. One man didn't hold all the power. And some of the awe and wonder about Julius Caesar is how he took that situation and gave himself and was able to seize all of the power for himself. But before Rome had a senate and councils and magistrates, and before Rome had voting, they were ruled by kings. And so Julius Caesar was saying at that eulogy that he was a direct descendant from those kings, and he was a direct descendant from the gods. You see this idea play out a lot in history. A lot of individuals, Alexander the Great for one, the pharaohs of Egypt for two, right? They always said that they were descendants of the gods. They were God men. They were the children of God on earth. And by saying this, what they were saying was, this is why I have the right to rule over everybody else. Because somebody might ask, why do you deserve to be king? Why do you deserve to tell me what to do? Well, because gods tell men what to do. The gods are above the men. I have a direct lineage to God, so I am over you. It's almost the same thing as the religious leaders. The religious leaders put themselves in a position to where they are closer to the gods than everyone else. So now they can tell everyone else what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's evil, what they should do, what they shouldn't do, how much they should sacrifice, if they should tithe. People go to them with all of their questions about life because they see these people as being closer to the gods. But how you have it in this modern age, religious leaders, they try to tell people that they are spiritually more connected to God. That's how it is now. But back then, they know we're physically connected to God. We're physically descended from these gods. And that is how they officiated, and this is how they validated their power. This is how they validated their supreme status over others, because they tied themselves back to the gods. But Suetonius tells us, after Julius Caesar's wife Cornelia dies, he marries a lady named Pompeia. Now get this. This is wild. Pompeia was the granddaughter of Sulla. Now remember, Sulla was the guy in the beginning of the story who chased Julius Caesar out of town. Julius Caesar and Sulla, they had beef, right? So now you see, after Sulla is dead, and after Julius Caesar's wife is dead, the man so player, the man so gangster, the man so about his business, he go back and he marries the granddaughter of the same individual that ran him out of town. Now, we can speculate on why he did it. Maybe she was pretty. Maybe he liked her. Maybe she had a nice shape and a pretty face. Maybe it was because she was the granddaughter of Sulla, so she came from a powerful ranking family, and that's part of it too. But I'm going to tell y'all something. Just like I know, Julius Caesar, the man that he was, with the mentality that he was, he did that for a checkmate as well. I remember when your granddaddy, Sulla, you ran me out of town at one point. Now I'm in the family because I just married your granddaughter. It's checkmate. It's political checkmate. I understand exactly what he was doing. He married into a powerful family, for one. But then it's like he cleaned up some old beef. Spit on the old man's grave. You didn't even want me around. You wanted to deal with me because how I did my first betrothed wife. But now I'm married into your family and I'm married to your granddaughter. I'm telling you, Julius Caesar was something else when you really start looking into the history. He married the man's granddaughter. So anyway, he marries Pompeia, right? He marries Pompeia around 67 BCE. They get divorced around 63 BCE. So they was only married for about 4 years. But peep this. They don't get divorced because Julius Caesar is handling her. Now check this out. I don't know if Pompey understood that, hey, you know what? I know you only married me and you only made this marriage work because of who my granddaddy is. But you think you're gonna checkmate our family? And guess what, Buster? I'ma checkmate you. So guess what Pompey do? Guess why they get a divorce? They get a divorce because Julius Caesar suspects that she been messing around on him. She done committed adultery. She been sleeping around, family. So while he married her to try to checkmate the whole family name and to checkmate the grandpa, she checkmate him back, and she like, I'm still gonna get loose on the side. Sulla explains it like this. In place of Cornelia, he took to wife Pompeia, daughter of Quintus Pompeius and granddaughter of Lucius Sulla. But he afterward divorced her, suspecting her of adultery with Publius Claudius. And in fact, the report that Claudius had gained access to her in woman's garb during a public religious ceremony was so persistent that the Senate decreed that the pollution of the sacred rites be judicially investigated. So I want to unpack what he's saying here. What he's saying is Julius Caesar divorced her because not only did she cheat on him with a man named Publius Claudius, how Publius Claudius cheated with this man's wife is, man, it's epic. It's epic. Notice how Suetonius says he gained access to her in woman's garb during a public religious ceremony. Now, that public religious ceremony was known as the Festival of Bona Dea. The Festival of Bona Dea, from which all men are excluded. It's a festival only for women. And what the women do at this festival, they would gather at night, they would drink extremely strong wine, and they would perform blood sacrifices. Now, this was a religious festival in the ancient Roman Empire that women partook in. So what they telling us is, your boy Publius Claudius, you feel me? He get dressed up like a woman, cause men can't come to this festival of Bona Dea. So he get dressed up like a woman. He bouncing and turning, he bouncing and turning with the women. They gather at night. They festival. It's going down. They drinking extremely strong wine. And if you look at the historical record, I'm not saying that weak stuff. I'm talking about, when I say extremely strong wine, they drinking the type of wine that Romans didn't like their women to drink, because they felt like if their women drank this strong drink, they would do things that were unseemly and uncomely. But since this was a religious festival, and because the Vestal Virgins had also put their stamp on this festival, they were allowed to do this, because in the Roman Empire there were things that were of a priestly nature that was sanctified by the state, that was okay by the state. So what Publius Claudius do, he get dressed up like a woman, right? The man put on drag, and when all the women gather, he slide in the party, he two-stepping, he electric sliding, right? He doing it, he doing all that, he do whatever you call them new dances is, you know what I'm saying? He, back in high school, I used to bust into the dance. You feel me? So he get in, they getting drunk, he get drunk, he slide up on Julius Caesar's wife and they do what they do. The story get out. Somebody tell Julius Caesar, hear about it. The rumor is so big and so widespread that the Senate itself decrees that because of this alleged pollution to the sacred rites of the Festival of Bona Dea, that they have to investigate this matter. Now, Suetonius doesn't tell us exactly what the outcome of that investigation was, or maybe he does later on in the book. We just have to wait out. I'm unfolding it how Suetonius unfolded, but Julius Caesar ends up divorcing her, and he gets married to somebody else later. Now, I'm going to end with this story right here that Suetonius tells, and then we're going to leave it alone for part one. What you got to understand is we've already seen right? That Julius Caesar has had ideas of grandeur about himself since he was young. So what Julius Caesar does, he gets son. He had the role of quaestor. Quaestor is another rank that you can have within the Roman government, right? And so as quaestor, he gets sent to Spain. He gets sent to a place that's called Gades, Spain. Gades, Gades, Spain. In today's language, it's called Cadiz, Spain. Cadiz, Spain was under an ancient name, and that's where Julius Caesar went, right? So Julius Caesar goes to this town in Spain, and he goes to the Temple of Hercules. Hercules is another god, but he's the son of God. He's the son of Zeus, but he's still basically God. There was a Temple of Hercules in this city in Spain. And when Julius Caesar went inside of this Temple of Hercules, he saw a statue of Alexander the Great. And when he saw the statue of Alexander the Great, reality hit home. Because here he is with ideas of grandeur, but he's staring into the face of someone who has lived the life that he wanted to live. And he had to tell himself that, man, right now, I'm about 38 years old. Julius Caesar was about 38 at the time. He pushing 40. And he like, man, I haven't even accomplished 25% of what this man, Alexander the Great, accomplished in his life by the age of 30. You gotta understand something about Alexander the Great. He rose to the throne. He became the king of Macedonia at age 20. He died at age 32. So between 20 and 32, this man had conquered virtually the entire known world. So Julius Caesar is saying that by the time this guy was 30, he had subdued damn near the entire known world. And here I am with visions of grandeur in my head. I'm pushing 40, and I haven't even done 25% of what Alexander had done by the age of 30. So it was a reality check, and it was a gut punch. And so he really had to analyze his life. And so this started pushing Julius Caesar into a mind state to where he wanted to get power by any and all means. Any and all means. In his mind state to get power by any and all means, no matter who he had to step on, who he had to kill, what he had to do, what laws he had to violate, what pushed him further into that mold that led him to be the Julius Caesar that we know. Is Suetonius tells us the next day he had a dream, right? And in this dream, he dreams of himself bringing violence to his own mother, and he wakes up distraught. And so he goes to the soothsayers, and he goes to the revealers of dreams, and he tells them about his dream because he is distraught. Because in his dream, he is doing harm to his own mother. He is bringing violence to his own mother, and it bothered him to think like that. And so with the dream interpreters, what the soothsayers told him was that in your dream, your mother represented the earth, because the earth is the common mother of all of mankind. And you, Julius Caesar, you are destined to rule the world. And Suetonius documents that thusly. Furthermore, when he was dismayed by a dream the following night, for he thought that he had offered violence to his mother, the soothsayers inspired him with high hopes by their interpretation, which was that he was destined to rule the world, since the mother whom he had seen in his power was none other than the earth, which is regarded as the common parent of mankind. And so after Julius Caesar has this rude awakening when he's staring in the face of Alexander the Great, a man who has done what he aspires to do, and he has this dream, and these interpreters tell him that he is supposed to rule the world, and he's already believing that he is a descendant from the kings, and he's already believing that he is a descendant from the gods, and in his own mind he feels that he is supposed to rule the world. Now Julius Caesar begins to embark upon his all-out campaign to seize the Roman Empire and thus become king of the world. So when we come back on part 2, we're going to get right into his first attempts to seize power in Rome. He did it more than once. He did it more than twice. He plotted and plotted and plotted until it actually worked. So come back for the next installment. Come back for part 2. We're going to go into how Julius Caesar actually tried and failed more than once to take the Roman Empire, and we're going to get into how he actually subdued the Roman Empire. So I hope this has been historically informative. If you have any questions or comments, please leave me a question. Please leave me a comment. If you have anything that you want to add to the discussion, leave me a comment about it. Share this video. If you haven't already, join the group, The Real Bookworm. I'm starting The Real Bookworm online book club, and we're going to be doing a lot more videos like this. This is only part 1. This is only part 1, and we only scratched the surface. So part 1, Julius Caesar, out of the book The Lives of the Caesars by Suetonius. Matthew Daniels, aka Poe, aka The Chosen Few, aka The Real Bookworm. I'm not a bookworm, I'm the real bookworm. Make sure you get it right. And as always, may your name live on forever, and may your memory never die. Hotel.